Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? I want to share with you guys this unfortunate and heartbreaking journal entry that Madeline Soto made before her untimely demise, before she was taken away from us by Stephen Stearns, the monster. And then I want to play for you an excerpt of an interview that was done with Christopher Stearns. I know we did a breakdown of his statement to police just a little bit ago. We did a 2-hour live. But I want to play this for you because we didn't cover this in a live that we did, or at least I didn't catch it. If I didn't catch it, it didn't exist. We're going to hear about Christopher Stearns' interaction with Jenn Soto when she discovered that her boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, had been molesting her daughter for at the very least 2 years. We're going to hear what her response was to those allegations when she spoke to Christopher Stearns, Stephen Stearns' father. Before we get to that, though, I want to give you a trigger warning. Not that there's anything salacious or inappropriate in this journal entry, but only because it is profoundly heartbreaking. And I want to read it for you, and I want to tell you what I think about it, because people on the internet are surmising that something might be involved with this statement or this pouring out of her heart. But I'm going to counter that based off of my experience. This is identified as a journal entry that was found and is believed to have been from Madeline Soto. This is a part of the document dump. A few true crimers have it, such as The Docket, Grizzly True Crime, the Queen of True Crime. Much love and respect to her. At the top, you see a crossed out entry that says, "My illnesses and conditions limit my ability to work by affecting my memory." That's what it appears to say. Then it says number 5, "My fluctuating moods, anxiety, and trauma-related symptoms affect my memory." Notice she's not saying that she has ADHD or bipolar or anything like that. She's smart enough to attribute all of these symptoms to her trauma. It says trauma-related symptoms affecting my memory, concentration, focus, and energy levels. I also have severe trauma responses when I encounter all males. And then she crosses out that resemble my perpetrator. What this says to me is that Madeline Soto was not in love with Stephen Stearns, or at least there was a time that she came to understand just who Stephen Stearns was to her. Now, there's another drawing of a young girl performing an act on a male, and I'm not going to show that to you guys. You want to see it, you can find it on the internet. There came a point in time, I full-heartedly and wholly believe, based off of my experience, that he groomed her, and there was a time that she believed she loved Stephen Stearns. There's a time that she believed that she looked up to him. There's even a time possibly that she looked forward to seeing him and being abused by him, because she was brainwashed into believing, one, that this is normalized and it's okay and it's normal. It's how people who care about each other show each other that they care about each other. That's what the abusers do. That's how they groom you and brainwash you into believing that what's happening, it's good, it's fine, it's safe, it's natural, it's normal. It's an expression of our feelings for each other. There was a time that those feelings existed, ladies and gentlemen. But as with all things, in time, sometimes people change. And when you're doing an unnatural, diabolical act, such as which Stephen Stearns was doing to Madeline Soto, eventually culture and society will catch up to that young girl. And she'll start realizing that what's happening to her is not right. It's especially easy to indoctrinate somebody into that world of violence, because that's violence. That was what was inflicted against that little girl. Absolute violence. It's easy to do that if, allegedly, the mother's in on it too. Whoever the perpetrator is, if they have an accomplice, somebody who's enabling, whether it's the father enabling or the mother enabling. In this case, allegedly, it might be the mother that's enabling. It might be Jenn Soto that was enabling this behavior, whether she was actively participating. And right now, Stephen Stearns is sitting on that information and protecting her because he loved her, his sick and demented version of love, that is, or through willful ignorance. Through willful ignorance, she allowed it to happen. And if this child is noticing that mommy sees him taking me into this room and locking the door and putting the chain on the door, and I feel like I'm a hostage in this room because a chain was put on the door, and she's not saying anything. If I'm screaming and I'm making noise because I'm in pain because of what's happening to me, because what he's doing to me, if mommy can hear that and she's not saying anything, must be okay. It must be all right. But once again, time heals all wounds. Time sheds light on the darkness eventually. And eventually she's going to grow older and she's going to realize from speaking to friends, from seeing things on TV, from seeing PSA messages on YouTube, she's going to notice is what's happening to her is wrong. She's going to see people arrested for the very same thing that's happening to her on the local news. She's going to realize it's wrong. She's going to realize that she's a victim. She's going to realize that the man that she was taught to love is actually a perpetrator. And the reason why she X'd those words out is probably because it was painful for her to write it, because when she wrote it, it became real. It was now her reality. And it was painful for her to realize that for most of her memorable life, she has been just abused, ex-abused by this monster, Stephen Stearns. I want you to understand the pain that are in those words that are being written by that little girl. And some people think that this was some type of coaching from a counselor. Well, I don't think so. I think people don't realize just how sophisticated kids are in this day and age because of the content that they consume. This sounds like a TikTok post. If you go on TikTok, TikTok has nothing but people talking about gender affirming stuff, LGBTQ stuff. And I'm not saying these things in a negative way. I'm just telling you the type of stuff that's on there. And people talking about ex abuse. People talking about what to do if you've been a victim. What is grooming? People talking about these things. TikTok is a place for social things. People talking about abortion. People talking about politics. That's what TikTok is about. Once again, not passing no judgment. I'm just telling you what's on the platform. It sounds like she was on TikTok and TikTok was telling her that this is wrong. Because if it was a counselor who was telling her to write this, that counselor should be in jail. You want to know why that counselor should be in jail? Because that counselor is a mandated reporter, ladies and gentlemen. That counselor had a duty to report that Stephen Stearns was abusing her if Madeline Soto told that counselor she was being a victim of sexual abuse. If that girl told that counselor, that imaginary counselor that I don't think exists, that they were being a victim, but they refused to say who, that counselor still had a duty in the United States of America to report that to social services, to the Department of Family Services, and even the police. Every single counselor, doctor, and teacher in the United States of America is a mandated reporter. They don't have a choice. And if they don't, they might go to jail. They might lose their license. They'll lose their employment. There's consequences to pay for not doing their job. This little girl was smart beyond her years. She knew what was happening to her. She was researching it. She started putting two and two together that there's nothing wrong with Madeline Soto. Madeline Soto was born a healthy, vibrant, beautiful little girl. Everything that ailed her, everything that plagued her at 13 years old was as a result of the trauma inflicted on her by Stephen Stearns. and possibly by the negligence of Jenn Soto. And so now we're going to segue into the negligence of Jenn Soto. I want to play for you what the worst mother of the year, well, not necessarily sounds like, because you're not going to hear her talking, but you're going to hear somebody reciting a conversation they had with her that shows how she's the worst mother of the year. And how could the police have access to this and not charge her is beyond me. But I believe in the system and I have faith. Many news sources, in fact, all of the news sources that I heard about, that I listened to, they all said at this time, they're not pressing charges. At this time, maybe there's still hope. There better be hope when you listen to a call like this. Listen to this interview.
And then everything goes dark at 4 o'clock. 4:04, I get a text message. Finally, I get a text message from Jenn trying to figure out what the F is going on. And she texted me and said, get Stephen a lawyer now. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You just found out that your boyfriend has been molesting your child since at least 2 years. That's the information the cops gave her. We all know it's much longer than that. And what you choose to do is not cry, not be angry, not curse the name of this man, not feel empathy for your child who is still missing at this time, has not been declared dead, not reach out to your family and seek support from them. The first thing you do is you call up your boyfriend's father and you tell him, get my man a lawyer now. Get him a lawyer now, because they found photos of him molesting my daughter and he needs to lawyer up. Let's keep going.
Why? And then she says, well, they have found these images on Stephen's phone that there's sex act between Maddie and Stephen. And I go, I disbelief and go, okay. And I asked her how long. She said 2 years. And she said something to the effect, like he needs a lawyer up. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was just really weird.
What?
And so a few hours later, she finally comes out of the. I'm communicating with her before this, and I said, I got to go get something to eat, and got to use the restroom. The station's locked up. I can't get in. And she said, well, they said, go up to a Wawa or something. I said, okay. And the next thing you know, no, they're going to let me out and go to get something to eat. So she comes out, and the meter is just matter of factly, everything's fine. Mm-hmm. And we get in the car, and we're talking, and we go to get something to eat. And I kept thinking, this is a woman who just learned that her child had been sexually abused for the last 2 years. And she's acting towards me like nothing's happened. Mm-hmm. And it's like another day, another evening out, we're just spending time together. That entire...
You guys soaking that in? You guys internalizing that? She's in a car talking normal. She doesn't give a damn. She does not care one bit what she just heard. Even if you were into that kind of stuff and you didn't care, or you just didn't you didn't care about your daughter at all. You had no love for her. Even if that was the case, you'd still be surprised. You'd still want to know more information. I would dare say the only circumstance that somebody would act the way by which Christopher Stearns is describing this interaction he had with Jenn Soto is if you already knew it was happening. You already knew it was happening. That's the only way. That's the only way, in my opinion, that you'd act the way she's acting, is if it was not a surprise to you. It was more like, wow, he finally got caught. Finally got caught. Let's keep going.
Then I take her back to the police station, And then she's done with her interview. The detectives come out and say, hey, we want to talk with you. I said, fine, there's somebody to have a conversation with me. Arrange for her to get in the car to stay with Sailor. And I go up and have my conversation with Alex, and then I go back to the car, and I'm going to take her back home because she needs a ride home. And even her demeanor coming out with the detectives is just like, everything's fine. And
did she act like that during previous contacts with you guys, whether it be last month, last year? Was it the same kind of interaction?
Yeah. If anything, this is the most interaction I've ever had with her. Mm-hmm. Because when she came here, I never really interacted with her unless we're having a meal together. Mm-hmm. And so we're leaving, and I'm taking her home. And I kept thinking as we're talking, I'm expecting her to just blow up and start beating the shit out of me or scratching me or chewing my ass out. But no, none of that. I kept waiting for something to explode. And in fact, as we're leaving, before we went downstairs to the lobby, Stephen handed me his pocket knife and said, hey, you better hang on to this. I said, okay. And then I threw it in the console of my car as I'm leaving. I look down and I see this knife, and I go, call Alex and say, hey, Stephen gave me his knife that's got it in the console. Maybe you should have it. Mm-hmm. So I swung back around and took it to her, and I didn't get any questioning from her. What are you doing that for? You know, I kind of expected that, but I didn't. Ran through the piece of paper, gave it to Alex, gave him a statement, and we left. Took her back. And, everything, she's acting just too normal. It doesn't seem, it's acting abnormal because she shouldn't be that way. Her demeanor should be entirely different. And then she goes on to tell me that Stephen was sexually frustrated because she and Stephen were not having sex.
So she's basically, oh my God. I get the feeling that, because people said that she went both ways, that, she also enjoyed women. I get the feeling that she was not sexually interested in Stephen Stearns, but she wanted his companionship. And I think she allowed her daughter, this is my opinion, guys. This is my opinion. I have no facts of this. I have no evidence of it. But I feel like she allowed her daughter to fill that gap. I feel like she allowed her daughter to fill that gap, to allow Stephen to abuse the child so that she could still receive the emotional support that he gives her. There's some people who are so complicated, or they have so much going on. They've just been dealt a bad hand by life, that most people would not want to deal with them. It's sad to say, nobody wants to hear it. Some people watching this video might fall into that category, might feel personally offended. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but if I'm a single guy and I'm looking for a woman to build a life with, I'm not really going to be interested in investing my time in somebody who has to take psychiatric medication before bed and eat just at the right time and get the right amount of sleep, because if not, they're going to be a psycho on me the next day, which is what Jen said out her own mouth. I'm not really going to be interested in somebody like that. Relationships are so complicated. Why would you want to put yourself in a situation like that? Now, there's a difference when you already built a relationship with somebody and these things develop, and then that's what loyalty is all about. You try and work it out. You stand by that person through thick and thin. That's a different conversation. It's a different conversation than you're just jumping into it and already you're being bombarded with somebody who has so much baggage. I almost feel like she finally met somebody who had the same amount and same type of baggage that she had and was willing to actually put up with her. And even though she probably wasn't interested in the sexual component, the physical component of a relationship, she did cherish the emotional attention and connection that she got from being with Stephen. And instead of breaking up or agreeing to be in a physical less relationship, she just decided, you know what? Take Maddie. You can have her. whether it was a willful act, as in go, take her, do it as you please, or her just having willful ignorance. Like, I know what he's doing, but I'm going to pretend like I don't know and we'll just carry on. I feel like this is a possibility. Let's let him continue.
Medication changed. She didn't have any interest in sex, and so there was no sexual engagement between the two of them. And I said, well, this is really unusual conversation to hear this from a mother that, if you ask anybody else, what would your reaction to be? I said, I would be batshit crazy beating somebody up. And that was not the case. And then I saw the interview. And said, I keep thinking, if I saw that interview Tuesday and they called me, I said, no effing way would I have gone to Orlando, because I would have seen for myself, like everybody else did on YouTube, they weren't buying the story. And what I saw Stefan doing was a repeat of what he had talked to me about on Monday evening. And,
Thank you.
Wow. It's just a snippet. It's a snippet. If you want the full thing, you can get it from Plunder. Just a snippet. Wow. Like and subscribe, join the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to get some rest. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button so we can get into the algorithm, and consider becoming a member of the Strategic Eyes Show. We're out here trying to give a voice to the voiceless. I'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Peace.